Chapter 25, Misfits. On Tuesday, Eric got his first view of David Hallenbach in the lunchroom, sitting in Eric's old seat. It was almost funny, except it seemed kind of pathetic. Eric was reminded of that old expression, be careful what you wish for, it might come true. Hallenbach had gotten what he wanted, a seat with the in crowd. But just a passing glance told Eric that for David, nothing would change. In fact, it would probably get worse. He didn't fit in over there, and it would never last. Still, despite recent events, Eric liked some of the guys at that table. They could be okay, if only they'd let themselves. Pat and Hakeem were really nice, and they hadn't been in the cemetery that day. Neither was Marshall. Drew, Will, and Sinjay were there, but Eric saw them as sailboats on the ocean. They just went whichever way the wind blew. They went to see a fight because it was exciting, because it was something to do, because Griffin said it was going to be cool. Eric saw Cody watching him from across the room. Cody sat in his usual place, across from Griff, who had his back to Eric. Something seemed different. Eric couldn't put his finger on it. Maybe it was just his imagination. Cody was sitting there, but it looked like his mind was somewhere else. Want company, or is this your own private Idaho? Mary asked. Eric's arms swept across the empty table. Sit anywhere you like. Thanks, Mary said, plopping down across from him. She unzipped a banana and broke off half in her hand. Why aren't you sitting at your regular table? I'm not wanted, Mary answered. She chomped on the banana. That's okay. I don't want them either. This is over that thing with Chantel? Mary nodded. I'm now considered a traitor. I guess it's just us then, Eric said. You and me, brother, Mary said, tapping her chest twice and flashing a peace sign. It's like the island of misfit toys over here. We could start a new country. I'll let you be in charge of Homeland Security. Eric felt the bruise on his cheek. You might want to rethink that. On second thought, I guess you're right. Are you going to eat that? Mary reached for half of Eric's sandwich and bit into it. Help yourself, Eric said. Just did, and it was delicious. Hey, did I tell you? My mom finally caved. She bought me a cell phone. Get out! For real, it was one of those unexpected perks of getting beaten up. She thinks I'll be safer with a phone. Sure, if you hit him over the head with it. Eric noticed a few people glancing over at them, heads turning, tongues wagging. People are going to talk, you know. You and me sitting together. Let 'em, Mary scoffed. I'm so tired of what other people think. Yeah? Yeah, I'm serious. I'm done worrying about what people like Alexis Brown think of me. When did you get so smart? Mary shrugged. I had to do a lot of dumb things first, and after a while, I decided to try a different approach. How's it working out for you so far? Eric asked. The food's better, Mary said, twisting open one of Eric's Oreos. She turned serious. Do you know what Mr. Schofield told me? He said not to listen when people say bad things about me. He said, you know, Miss O'Malley, it says more about who they are than it does about you. Not bad, Eric said. I thought so, Mary agreed. Mrs. Rosen, the lunch aide, stopped by the table. We're starting a new country, Mary informed her. Would you like to apply for asylum? Actually, Eric, Mrs. Rosen said, I was wondering if you're still in the dog-walking business. Eric said that he was, at which point Mrs. Rosen went into great gushing detail over her new puppy, little Annie, a King Charles Spaniel. Oh, she's just the cutest thing you've ever seen, Mrs. Rosen exclaimed. She's still a puppy, but full-grown Annie will only weigh about 15 pounds. Mrs. Rosen told Eric that she had to fly to Florida for a few days to visit a sick relative. I need someone who I can really depend on, Mrs. Rosen said. I just can't bear putting Annie in one of those kennels. I'd love to do it, Eric said. But I thought you usually hired Griffin for those jobs. Mrs. Rosen shook her head no. I may be getting old, but I'm not blind yet. Let's leave it at that. Eric arranged to stop by her house before the weekend to pick up a spare set of keys. When she left, Eric looked across the room to see Griffin Conley turned all the way around in his chair, scowling at him. Once they got outside, Eric found out why. What was all that about with Rosen? Griffin asked Eric, who was shooting baskets. Why do you care? You owe me, Griffin said. I almost got into big trouble because of you. What? You and your mommy ratted me out. I had to do some fast talking. Eric grabbed a loose basketball and tried hard to ignore Griffin. Griffin blew the hair out of his eyes. What'd you tell them? The truth, Eric replied. I said you never touched me. Still, my PINS officer is going to have a cow. Your what? PINS officer, Griffin repeated. Don't you know anything? PINS, person in need of supervision. You got in trouble before, huh? Griffin dismissed the question with a wave. He raked the hair from his face. Rosen hired you, didn't she? Eric drained a long jumper. One of the guys, Pat, rebounded the ball and snapped a pass back to him. Courtesy shot. Eric put up another. Swish. Eric loved the sound of a ball shivering through a chain net. Don't get too close, he chided Griffin, or you'll get burned. I'm on fire. I'll find out one way or the other, Griffin said, still harping on Rosen. I already have a pretty good idea. She just got a new designer dog. Is she still going on vacation? You might as well tell me. It'll save time. Mary turned up, taking a place at Eric's side. Come on, Eric, let's go. It smells around here. What is he? Your new boyfriend? Griffin snapped. Mary made a face. You're an idiot, Griff. You know that? Shut it, Griffin answered. That's genius, Griff. You lay awake all night writing that stuff? Suddenly invisible, Eric watched the two glare at each other. There was definitely some history between them. Bad blood. Eric spoke up. Yeah, you got it right, Griff. I'm taking care of Mrs. Rosen's dog. I guess she doesn't trust you anymore. He paused. Go figure. Griffin's face hardened. I'll get you back. You don't scare me, Eric lied. Griffin smiled wide, folded his hands together, and said in a soft voice, We'll see about that. He turned and walked away. Neither Mary nor Eric followed, but they watched him go, both wondering what he'd do next.